Hey everyone, I'm Coach Katie with R3 Revitalize, coming at you for our Motivational Mondays, our next installment. So every Mondays I'm like, God, what are we supposed to talk about today? And Motivational Mondays came up today with forgiveness. Whew, heavy topic. So I actually am going to bring in some scripture on this one, coming from Matthew 6, verse 14 and 15 in the Message version. And I'm going to read it on my other screen. It is, in prayer, there is a connection between what God does and what you do. You can't get forgiveness from God, for instance, without also forgiving others. So if you refuse to do your part, you cut yourself off from God's part. So why did I pick forgiveness today? Well, as a very highly driven entrepreneur, woman of authority, it's not even been an entrepreneur my whole life. It's just a very highly driven personality, mid-influence. I tend to go 100 miles an hour, making a lot of decisions without always thinking about how that impacts people's thoughts, feelings, emotions. And part of a prayer process this morning when I was in prayer at the benches is there are specifically two people in my journey right now that I asked for forgiveness on. I think I hurt a couple people's feelings in the journey and in the process. And I did ask for forgiveness. One is someone that I've had a rapport with for a couple years, and one is my husband. So my husband has been doing such an amazing job at just being my support person. And in some of that journey, he's also had to take on his own responsibilities of kind of sorting out some of his things from his past. And that has sometimes caused a little tension between him and I. So we have gone through a growth season, and part of that growth season is my willingness to be a little bit more empathetic and compassionate. And so I shared a little bit about asking for forgiveness for these two people. These two people have had friendships in this journey. This is between me, myself, and another friend of ours. And now it's up to God. So I want to talk about, I thought that this whole forgiveness piece, when I work with clients that are really struggling with somebody has done something that's transgression on them. They have done there's an act of trust that gets lost if there feels like there's that act of something has happened that has interfered with that relationship. And when I work with clients, and even as we've kind of gone through this whole process of life, when we stick and be very prideful and arrogant and in our own ways, we often forget to realize that forgiveness is not about excusing somebody else's mistake on them. It's really about accepting that grace from the inside and giving that forgiveness. That usually is one of the barriers that holds people back, because they're so stuck in being mad about something or someone. And oftentimes that can really get in the way of forward movement in life, forward movement in personal growth, forward movement in even just emotional growth. So today in our Motivational Mondays, I want you to ask yourself, is there somebody that you feel did you a wrong? And then ask yourself, how much is that interfering with your happiness? And what if you took this verse, this Matthew 6:14 and 15 verse to heart. I'm going to read it one more time before we close up. It is in prayer, there is a connection between what God does and what you do. You can't get forgiveness from God, for instance, without forgiving others. If you refuse to do your part, you cut yourself off from God's part. So just taking that moment and unpacking it a bit, it's saying that we as a human have the ability to offer somebody else grace, to offer somebody else mercy, even if they transgressed against you, even if the evil one got involved and there's something really detrimental that happened. We get to, because Jesus died for us, we get to forgive that person. And in turn, that releases something. Now, we don't get to control what that other person, how they respond, how they react, if they accept it or if they don't accept it. This specific friend that I'm talking about, may never accept my apologies and may never have another conversation with me in the future. And I have to be okay with that. That's not my circus. It's not my monkeys. I did my part. And now this person is invited to do a next step, but they can do whatever they want to choose to do. That's not for me to own or take responsibility for. So that said, as you are just thinking about your journey, what is God calling you to forgive? Or who is God calling you to forgive? And what does that look like? Does that look like a reconciliation conversation? Does that look like a note? Does that look like, maybe it's somebody that you can't even talk to because they're not even in this world anymore and they passed away. Maybe it's writing a letter and then, I don't know, putting it in a bottle and burying it. I don't know. What does that look like to you? How do you take responsibility for your own self in this forgiveness process so that God can do his part in the process? That's it. A little bit of heavier Motivational Mondays than normal, but that's all right. We just come and we show up and we talk. All right, my friends, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you next week for another installment of Motivational Mondays. And if you missed some of this and you want to see some, we've got these, all of the Motivational Mondays are listed on in our YouTube channel, on R3 Revitalize YouTube channel. Come join us. We are working on getting to 500 subscribers this year, and we've got a ways to go. So come on, join us. We would love you to be a part of our family at R3 Revitalize. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.